This is a video made especially to help you understand Oedipus complex and theory with examples. For the feeling that something is still not right. Okay. Freud has based his theory on hedonism. Hedonism means lust, means erotic feeling. And this is based on sexuality, which Freud named Eros, based on the Greek word Eros, the god of love. And also it's based on aggression, which is called by Freud thanatos, the Greek word for death. Both of them, sexuality and aggression, are creating what is called by Freud libido. That means the lust, the sexual motivation. We have explained everything else, the stages and of the psychosexual development, but I'm focusing on the phallic stage, because this is where we have to discuss the development of the Oedipus complex. And the point of Freud's theory is that if the issues the person confronts this time of the life are not resolved, later in life will be having Oedipus or Electra's complex if it's a girl. So this is what you need to remember, that the boy begins the masturbation of the girl, which means pleasure from the phallic organ, and then that's the first start of sexual activity, and this is where the boy or the girl sees itself different to the father, the power figure, the father figure in the family. So it is the time where the Oedipus complex onsets. Let's start discussing the Oedipus complex, which is a term used for boys. The similar Oedipus complex for girls, it's called Electra's complex, are reminded there. So as you see, the boy has to deal with mom and dad, and according to Freud, there are two drives inside it, inside the baby or the child. It's the sex drive, eros, or thanatos, the aggression. So because the baby from the previous stages has developed attachment to mom, now at this stage, the phallic stage, there is a sexual libido which is cathected to mom. Cathected means it's invested, it is oriented to mom, it's given to mom. All of the sexual libido is cathected to mom. At the same time, the boy sees dad as rival for mom's attention. Every time he wants mom can go and speak to dad. Therefore, after the tantrums, the boy wants to remove dad from the equation, from this relationship. Kid of the boy wants to remove dad and develops a kind of hatred or aggression. And this aggression towards dad is really stopped when the boy realizes that the dad can harm it. So because he's scared that dad may castrate him, and the castration anxiety has come up, the boy is scared, now takes some sexual libido from mom. So he really takes back the investment of love he done to mom. And also, because of castration anxiety, because of fear towards dad, the power figure, he also decaffects most of the aggressive libido from dad. So now he's not anymore, the boy is not so more attached to the mom as it was, and it's not so aggressive to dad. Still, there is some libido cathected left towards mom, and also some aggression, as you see, cathected dad. But this time the boy tries to cancel this aggression towards dad with identifying to dad's figure, to dad's authority. So boys at this stage, later stage 4-5, they attached to dad more. And at the same time, they identify somehow with the mom. It's still their mommy, so some identification happens there. And we need now to discuss what has happened to the remainder of the libido that has been returned to the boy, that has been decathected from mom, and the aggression that has been decathected from dad. It's like a certain amount. What's the remainder? What's happening? The boy needs to somehow allocate this decathected libido and the decathected aggression. And what he's doing is he displaces the sexual libido to not mom, that's forbidden, to mom-like objects. Therefore, he starts loving his teacher, a girl or another lady looks like mom. And now that has been solved. The problem is what happens to the aggressive behavior or the aggressive libido he displays towards dad. So now this has to turn not against dad, the father figure, but any other authority figure like dad. So now he is affecting this, displacing this aggressive libido to dad-like objects, the police officer or the authority of the boss. Now, in the girls, we said in the girls similar things are happening. We call them Oedipus complex. In girls we call it Electra's complex. Again, the problem starts because as the boy, due to oral stage, the girl has sexual libido affected to mom. The love that feels towards a mom, according to Freud, has to be sexual. We don't always trust that. Nevertheless, now we're discussing Freud. So all the sexual libido affected to mom also has a relationship, the same relationship where the girl said with the boys. So the boy in the past could see dad as rival from mom's attention. Now the girl sees dad as rival from mom's attention. Therefore, she is investing aggressive libido towards dad. The girl wants to remove dad as the boy before wanted to remove dad from the equation. The girl wants mom for herself. But the point is that in this case, the girl, she cannot be equal to dad. She discovers that the penis is missing. And because she discovers that she cannot take the place of dad in the relationship with mom, she develops penis envy, and she's really puts that lack of penis to mom. Gets aggression towards mom because mom as herself doesn't have a penis. So she blames mom. So at this age, around 4 or 5, she starts blaming mom because she's not as she wants to be as dad. So now she decaffects all the sexual libido from mom. Okay, so she doesn't like at all mom at this stage, and she decaffects all the aggressive libido from dad, so she's not aggressive to dad anymore. Now she becomes the these colors are wrong, sorry, this should be red. So she decaffects all the aggressive libido to mom and all the other libido to dad. Okay, all the sexual libido to dad. So the positions are changing. And now at this stage, because she's scared that mom will punish her, theoretically she thinks that she will steal dad from mom. So she fears mom, therefore she decaffects most of the aggressive libido from mom. So she's not aggressive to mom anymore, and she decaffects all the aggressive, or the most of the sexual libido from dad. Okay, but still she hates mom and she still loves dad. And she identifies with mom. Okay, and has some identification with dad. And what happens with Again, the dick-affected libido as it was before with the boys. Now, in a similar way, what happened to the boys? She displays all the libido, and she is throwing that libido to mom or dad-like objects. So all the girls getting all this aggressive libido, and all the boys, all the male look or dad-like objects get that sexual libido. So remember I told you that the girls marry somebody who looks like their dad and the boys marry somebody who looks like their mom. It's not sick at all. Social psychology explains that because we get used to the role model, we're observed and we'll learn a condition to that role model, and this figure will look for something similar. Now, if the personality is not able to resolve all these issues developed in the phallic stage, develops fixations. And what fixations? In the oral stage, it can be oral incorporative or oral aggressive. So how we do that? Sometimes have you seen people playing with the ear and they misplace that? Oral aggressive is the example we gave about the biting tongue, the sarcastic person. Or incorporative could be somebody who is incorporating everything to food, let's say. Anal states, also fixation that states can be anal expulsive, we discussed that, and anal retentive, destructive, and meticulous. And the phallic states, the person can be phallic dominant or phallic submissive. So it can be having these kind of fixations. And let's see about things about defense mechanisms. I want you to remember that the ego is dealing with the fight between id and superego, and the fights that they exist in the unconscious ego, all the problems create anxiety. For this reason, the ego needs to protect itself from the unconscious ego and from the outside world. And in this case, what's happening when the outside world brings reality anxiety, and when the superego brings the moral anxiety, and when the id brings the pleasure anxiety or the lost pleasure anxiety, the neurotic anxiety, the ego cannot deal. So unconsciously, to fight for this anxiety, develops defense mechanisms. One of these defense mechanisms is repression, the most common. And let's see examples related to the previous problem. So, id cathexis means that id stops loving mom, that object. So it has anxiety, id. And all this love, all this libido it head towards mom, is fought by the ego, the reality that says to him, no, you can't love mom. Ego protects mom. Therefore, if id cathexis the love to mom, the ego anti-cathexis, like stops that love towards mom. And the id stays confused. Okay, I can't love mom. What can I do? It can hide it. Okay? And where do we hide it? We hide it in the dreams. Let's see how we can see this love in your dreams. So in your latent dream, you have your mom. And you love your mom. You have to love your mom. But the ego stops that. And the cathexis of the id becomes anti-cathexis for the ego. So whatever has been left in the subconscious from the day, like imagine what you have done. You saw a blood cut, you saw a key, you saw mom riding the bike. You have to associate mom which you love, with one of the subjects. You can't really associate it with the key, you can associate it with the cat. So you associate mom with the bike because mom rode this bike. So what happens during the dream? The latent dream and the dream work brings us in this, let's say, displacement. The love of mom moves to the love of the bike, and this is a symbolization. And of course, this symbolizes mom and the displacement, and then of displacement of the love from mom to the bike, and all these are condensing to what you really see, to your manifest dream. So if you decide that you love your bike, or the boys are dreaming of their red bike they love, it's really a story coming out from Freud's theory. Let's discuss displacement, another ego defense mechanism. So displacement means, yes, I think you know, displacement means we move the love to something else we can afford to give it. So the original id impulse is to say, I love mom, and throw all these cathects or cathect all this love towards mom. And the displaced id's impulse is not to love mom, but to love someone like mom. Okay? And this is why we said boys love mom. Sublimation, which is kind of displacement. It's the same thing. The original impulse to id was, I hate dad, so I have to throw all the aggression towards dad or authority figure. But the sublimated id impulse is, I have to play sports. I have to take out my hatred, my aggression to somebody. What's the best way? Sports. I hate my opponent. Import their crows. I hope you understand that. And projection is that the original id impulse, which is I hate dad, to become a projected id impulse. So I hate dad, but I say, oh, dad hates me. This is projection. And let's see what rationalization is. The original id impulse is I love mom. So I throw all the libido to mom. The rationalized impulse is I love her, but I can't be sexually with her, so I need to be with her. My mom needs my constant attention. It's only what my mom needs for me. It's good. As a good son, I would do so. As a good daughter, I would do so. Reaction formation. The original id impulse is I hate dad, and I forward this aggression towards dad, but the reaction to id impulse is I love dad. You do the opposite. So the boys identify with dad. Identification is the next stage, where the original id impulse is to identify with mom. Why? Because you love mom. And the identification is I am mom and now I love myself. I'm like my mom, that's why I love myself. I behave like mom. And believe it or not, when you grow, you will see yourself acting towards your children the same way your mom acted towards you. I did that. Everybody's doing that. That's why Freud is somehow alive. What is denial? Denial is the other stage where we have an id impulse, an action, which is I want to hurt and I hurt dad. This time it's not just an impulse, it's an action. And the defense of this is you have to deny you haven't done it. So you block your memory and you don't remember that, and you insist, I never heard that. I never have done something that I heard that. All these are defense mechanisms, and this is the end of this. Displacements and sublimation, one part of this. Projection, I hope you remember projection. It's not I hate dad, he hates me. Rationalization, mom needs me, that's why I care for her, not because I love it. Reaction formation, I don't want to say I hate, I say I love. And identification, I love mom because I love mom, I love myself, I become mom. And denial, I didn't hurt dad, and that's it. I want you to remember this saying by Wolfgang, which was written in a paper in 2008. Um, he was researching aggression and reward. We're going to discuss it in detail about aggression and reward, and it's part of our says. And this is about those who believe that Freud was not right. Neuroscience is proving him right. Remember, back then said he was not correct. Chemical reactions in the brain, so somehow he was correct. So Wolfgang in 2008 said, it is well known that dopamine is produced in response to reward stimuli, such as food, sex, drugs, or abuse of drugs, because we are happy, we're doing something good. Remember the video we watched about dopamine? It is the motivation thing. What we have now found is that it also serves as positive reinforcement for aggression. So every time you're aggressive, you have the feeling good dopamine coming out. We have found that the reward pathway in the brain becomes engaged in response to an aggressive event, and the dopamine is involved, and the dopamine secreted is more and more, and this way we are becoming conditioned and reinforced to dopamine and aggressive behavior. The more aggressive we become, the more aggressive we want to be. And this is the end of this. We're going to discuss it again. I want you to remind this as the last part for how this work together, and I want you to remember in yourself how many times you are aggressive, you are bitchy girls and you like it, or you are aggressive angry boys and you really like it and you enjoy liking it. This is what Freud was talking about aggression and thanatos. Thank you. We'll discuss Jung in the next video.